Thanksgiving Genocide. Thanksgiving Genocide or Genocide Thanksgiving. They give you a list of the actual truth behind Thanksgiving. Now, I printed this up, so we're going to read. It's by a book by Glenn Ford that he had printed November 27th, 2006. Now, the highlighted parts is all we want. Just read it for them.
Okay. White America embraced Thanksgiving because a majority of population glories in the fruits, if not the unpleasant details of genocide and slavery and fields.
So white America, they like that story of Squanto and the Indians and the white pilgrims coming together. They like that so that you don't have to face the reality of the genocide your people caused. Was that it?
On the whole, good about their heritage.
To feel good about their heritage. Jump down here.
The Thanksgiving story is an absolution of the Pilgrims, whose brutal quest for absolute power in the New World is made to seem both religiously motivated.
They make it seem religiously motivated.
And eminently human.
And eminently human. I'm going to show you that's a bold-faced lie. When they got over here, they say they came on Jamestown, Massachusetts in 1621 and all that. When was the Boston Tea Party and all that? Way after that. Way after that. Okay? Go ahead.
Most importantly, the Pilgrims are depicted as victims of harsh weather and their own naive yet wholesome visions of a new beginning.
The wholesome and naive Pilgrims. Yes. Come on. Was that it?
That's it.
Now, turn the next page. We ain't finished. I'm getting the key points. You can Google this yourself. Now, there's books on it out, okay?
The following year, Captain Hunt, an English slave trader, arrived at Patuxent. It was common practice for explorers to capture Indians, take them to Europe, and to sell them into slavery for 220 shillings apiece.
Wait, read that bottom part. Capture Indians and what?
It was common practice for explorers to capture Indians, take them to Europe, and sell them into slavery for 220 shillings apiece.
Take them to Europe and sell them into slavery. Do you Negroes know history? Oh, they don't fit. How'd they get to Europe? On slave ships. That's what we showing you Negroes, filled with hatred, okay? Hold that. Get back to Deuteronomy 28:32 again.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand.
Did the so-called American Indians have power and might to get their sons and daughters back from Europe? No! No! We're going to read more. Now, hold on. Let's go back to this now. I ain't finished because y'all like to talk about Squanto. You sit in your school systems and talk about Squanto. Ever ask yourself, how did Squanto, the so-called Indian, how is he able to translate for the so-called white man and the so-called Indians? Because Squanto, when you read the history, was a slave in Europe. And he found his way back, hiding on another ship to get back to his people. That's the history the so-called white people won't tell you. Okay? Where you at?
Another common practice among European explorers was to give smallpox blankets to the Indians.
Smallpox blankets. Diseased blankets to the Indians. Come on.
Since smallpox was unknown on this continent prior to the arrival of the Europeans, Native Americans did not have any natural immunity to the disease, so smallpox would effectively wipe out entire villages with very little effort required by the Europeans.
Now flip the page. I'm just getting to the nitty-gritty of the thing. Y'all can read the rest on your own. Turn that. Come on. Right there, here and here.
Most historians believe about 700 Pequots were slaughtered at Mystic
River. The 700 Pequot Indians. Go ahead.
Many prisoners were executed, and surviving women and children sold into slavery in the West Indies.
They were sold into slavery in the West Indies. How did they get to the West Indies? On slave ships. Jump down.
The Massachusetts government offered 20 shillings bounty for every Indian scalped and 40 shillings for every prisoner who could be sold into slavery. Soldiers were allowed to enslave any Indian woman or child under 14 they could capture.
Read.
The praying Indians who had converted to Christianity.
Now, remember, the praying Indians who had converted to Christianity, come on.
The praying Indians who had converted to Christianity and fought on the side of the European troops.
Like the Mexicans did, the tribe of Issachar did.
Were accused of shooting into the treetops during battles with hostiles. They were enslaved or killed. Other peaceful Indians, Dartmouth and Dover, were invited to negotiate or seek refuge at trading posts and were sold onto slave ships.
Sold onto what?
Sold onto slave ships.
Get Deuteronomy 28:68 for the unlearned Negro at home who like to say they don't fit the curses. They didn't go into slavery on slave ships.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
The word Egypt there means what? Bondage. Were they sent on slave ships to bondage in Europe and the West Indies? Yes. Read a book, Negro. The history tells you thousands of Americans, thousands upon thousands were made slaves in Spain, Rome, Europe, and the West Indies. Come on.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
Was anybody able to save the so-called American Indians? No. See, they don't teach us that in school. Okay, why? Because it's the good old divide and conquer. Don't teach the Negroes and don't teach the Indians that they were sold on slave ships. Don't teach that. Just teach that the so-called blacks were made slaves and sold on slave ships. That caused the divisions in our people. Now, we're on page 8 now. Read that highlighted part.
Page 8. The country they claimed as their own was fathered by genocide.
Meaning the white man claimed this as their own. It was fathered by what?
By genocide and mothered by slavery.
Fathered by genocide and mothered by slavery. Come on. Next page. That section right there.
Defenders of the holiday will claim that the political...
Wait. Defenders of the holiday. He's talking about Thanksgiving. You know, the holiday that you blacks like to say, oh, this is just a day
for us to come together as one that's family.
Right. Foolish. Read that again.
Defenders of the holiday will claim that the politically corrected children's version promotes brotherhood. But that is an impossibility. A bold excuse to prolong the worship of colonial forefathers and to erase the crimes they committed.
See?
Those bastards burned the Pequot women and children and ushered in the multinational business of slavery. These are facts. The myth is an insidious diversion and worse.
You see what the author Glenn Ford wrote? He says, you that defend the holiday, who's he talking about? Just excuse the so-called white man because they're wicked as hell. Let's talk about you Negroes for a second. You are the defenders of the holiday. You ask a dumb Negro why they celebrate Thanksgiving? Oh, it promotes brotherhood and love for mankind, you dumb fools. That's what you are. Excuse me for calling you that. But when we bring the truth to you, you're the first ones to come up against the truth. Was that it? Flip the page. I think that was it.
Yeah, that's it.
Flip. That was it. Good. Now, we're going to get right back to the Bible now. I haven't forgotten the Bible because the Bible is the foundation, okay? I just had to read that history for you so that you can get the understanding. Now, from there, bear with me a second. Let me fire. I lost my page. Let's go.